Welcome to StratoLens. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the Cost Explorer and the Cost Anomalies pages. These two systems will help you get a handle on the costs in your Azure environment, identifying which resources are costing you money, and helping you quickly detect when changes occur. Let's start by taking a look at the Cost Anomalies view, and then we'll switch over to the Cost Explorer. The badges on this screen show you red, meaning cost spikes or increases, and green, showing cost decreases. Let's drill in and see some unexpected cost changes. Looks like our test VMs have had some cost changes going on recently. This one had a couple spikes and decreases, as well as this one. Let's take a look. Included in the cost anomaly view are points in time when spikes occurred. And correlated down on the bottom is the resource history view, which we saw in the changes section. We can see right around the 9th, this thing had a sudden spike. And if we click on this, it'll filter the history view on the bottom, and we'll note that this is when the resource was created. That makes sense. Creating a new VM would definitely create a cost spike. Another spike occurred a few days later. What happened here? We can drill down to this date and see that a change occurred. Hardware profile. VM size changed from D2S v6 to D4S v6. Again, that makes perfect sense. We increased the size of the VM, and the cost went up. A few days later, a sudden cost decrease. If we go down here and take a look, we'll note the power state went from VM running to VM deallocated. Again, VMs stop costing money when they're powered off. Another example is our Azure Bastion resource. We can see that this thing had a $1.76 spike, and then went up to $6.96 the next day. It was probably created on this day, and this is a partial day charge. This is confirmed by looking at the history on the bottom. Just like typically, we can see view at this time or view this change to see what other changes occurred during this scan. Here's a resource that had a very quick up and down. Looks like it was created and then deleted a short while later. Somebody was testing Azure Firewall. You can use the filters at the top of the screen to adjust the time period in which you're looking. So if we want to look at just the last 7 days, we easily can, compared to the last 30. We can also change the threshold percentage, meaning how much of an increase do we want to see before it shows up in the view, and the dollar change. For example, if we set this to a $5 minimum, we'll only see the 2 Azure Bastion resources. The dashboard also has cost intelligence and cost anomaly detections. You can see over the past 14 days, or a modified number of days, all the different spikes that have occurred, as well as the main resources costing you money. You can see the current month costs over the last 30 days, the previous 30 days, and any change amount. Clicking on an individual resource will open the Cost Explorer for that resource. The same is true for cost anomalies. By accessing the dashboard on a regular basis, you'll quickly notice when costs are changing and take action if needed. The Cost Explorer page lets you drill down into individual subscriptions, individual resource groups, and then individual resources to see what's costing you money and how. Generally speaking, you'll start in the current month view, which shows the current month time frame. You can easily switch to previous months or even a custom time range if you wish. By default, you'll be looking at the monthly view to see what the current monthly costs are. You can break this down into weekly or daily costs as you see fit. You'll note the last 2 days indicate partial data. Azure's costing is generally a day or two behind, so this is an easy way to identify when data may not be totally up to date just yet. Some resources have different metered costings. For example, this Cosmos DB both has costing for data stored and RU usage. We can see both metrics shown at the same time. We can collapse this into a total view if we wish. The daily view shows you each individual day's costs, while the monthly view gives you a running total over time. By default, StratoLens only shows you current resources in your environment, meaning things that are actively running. If you'd like to see previous costing items, you can enable the historical view. The little indicator here tells us exactly what that means. By turning on historical, we'll see some resource groups and resources that have since been deleted. These cost you money this month, however, they no longer are. Here's a firewall that was created for a day and then deleted. This makes it very easy to see which resources are actively costing you money at this time versus resources that have cost you money in the past but have since been removed. Clicking the magnifying glass icon on a resource group will give you the overall cost of that resource group, including a pie chart showing you which is costing you the most. Same for subscriptions. Looks like 2 Azure Bastions are costing us the most money. Take a look at our orphaned resource detection video to find out more about those. The details panel for a resource, or resource group or subscription for that matter, will give you a lot of information. You can see the last full day of costing for this resource was December 19th. Just a small 27 cents. The prior full day was on December 16th, 40 cents. The peak cost day was December 12th, a total of $4.85 for that day. We can also see averages across the last 7, 30, and 60 days, and including a meter breakdown. This virtual machine at one point was changed from a D2S to a D4S, so you can see the cost breakdown on this chart, including any bandwidth between regions or internal to regions shown there. Similarly, the weekly breakdown will show the last full complete week and its cost compared to the week before. This will help you get an idea of how much resources are costing you on a week-by-week basis, or even a monthly basis. This VM was created back on the 8th, so the current month cost obviously is much higher than the previous month because it didn't exist back then. There's even built-in forecasting, which you can use based on the past 7, 30, or 60 days to get a rough idea of what your future costs might look like if these resources continue to run the way they have been. Thank you for watching this video on StratoLens's Cost Explorer and Cost Anomaly pages. You can find more information about our product at www.strato-lens.com.